Prabhupada ki jai. Maya, your favorite topic, and we'll do a little kirtan. Just to get out of Maya. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Madhava ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. So I think I need to make it louder. Is that correct? Hare Krishna. Is that loud enough? And I cut my lip shaving. I don't know. That was weird. These are the best razor blades in the universe. They're so good they'll even cut your lips. So, let's talk about Maya. You're going to find this conversation quite enlightening and interesting, and you'll realize how much Prabhupada spoke about it. So I have sent these. I've sent these quotes to our leaders, who, if they're with us, will put it up. Otherwise, without any further ado, let's start reading. And then this first letter, it's written in 1949. Did you know that Maya existed in 1949? You probably didn't know that. It's true, she did. She's very old. She is as old, like we say, as old as the dust, as old as the universe. And Prabhupada is writing to, let's see, a person named Jagannath Babu. I'm not sure who that is. The Mahamaya, who is known as Durga, Kali, Chandi, Bhadrakali, Mahamaya, etc., is the embodiment of the external potency. As described in the Chandi, and it is the thankless task of the Mahamaya to punish the Asuras with her all-powerful weapons in the 10 directions of the material world. Thankless task. Maya does it, but it's not a pleasant service to keep people in Maya. Just like imagine you went out preaching and instead of liberating people, you kept them in Maya. That what if your guru said, "Today I want you to do whatever you can to keep people in Maya"? You wouldn't come back very blissful. She does not only create and maintain this material world, but also she annihilates it according to Daiva Maya. According to the direction of the Almighty God. In Bhagavad Gita, this Mahamaya has also been described as Daivi Maya. And she is so powerful that the asuras cannot pass her at any rate. And everyone's trying to surpass her. I was thinking someone would ask us, well, what would happen if the whole world would be Krishna conscious? And you start thinking what would happen. I said, well, we would stop trying to go to other planets. We would stop trying to come up with stupid theories about how there's no soul. We would stop trying to make the physical body eternal. You just go down the list and see how foolish people are. And that's all the action of Maya. In the Gita, Krishna says, that which is temporary will not last. In other words, he's saying matter will not last. And then he says that which is eternal, Sat, the reality, cannot be destroyed. So you read that verse and you just read right over it and you think, what else is new? That's of course, that's for a non-devotee, maybe that's something special. But even for them, it seems like you're saying, what is eternal, and what is temporary. So you're just giving synonyms. Or you're just restating the fact. But if you actually see what's going on in the world, that which is temporary, we're trying to make eternal, and that which is eternal, we're trying to deny that it exists. So just by understanding that one verse, if everyone were Krishna conscious, a lot of these laboratories where they're trying to create life would be shut down. And a lot of the effort to increase our longevity instead of increasing our eternal life would also shift or stop completely. So, if you just meditate on this one verse, apply it in the world, and you'll see how nobody really, or the leaders of the world, are not really acting on this premise. I always say, you don't have to discover a cure for every disease. You don't have to have these longevity institutes because you're already eternal. So why waste your time trying to make the physical body eternal when Krishna says it never will be? And you already have something that is eternal, so why not just manifest or discover that? It seems so simple. Do you know why it seems so simple? Because it is. But the point is, people don't get it because they're covered by... Exactly. They're covered by Maya. Covered, that's the key word here. Maya keeps them covered. Keeps their knowledge covered. Oh yeah, special announcement today. Class is going to end at around 8:25 because I have a meeting and I couldn't really control the time of the meeting. And someone who's joining the meeting is in Australia, and that's 10:30 for her. So we had to move it up from 10 o'clock to 8:30. And people in California are joining the meeting, so it's 5:30 for them. So I'll speak fast, and we'll get a lot done, and we'll read a lot. Okay, let's go. The asuras cannot bypass her at any rate. There's no road sign that says Maya bypass. Maya detour. You just go around Maya. Sorry, doesn't work like that. The asura can get remission from the stroke of the Trishula of Maha Maya when the asura surrenders himself to Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. As superintendent of the material world, the Mahamaya has been described, Durga. As the Mahamaya has been described as Durga, as the protectress of the great Durga, or fortress of the grand universes. Now sometimes Durga means where the going is difficult. And so that's a synonym for prison, because prison life is restricted and difficult. So the material world is sometimes analogized, if that's a word. The analogy is given that it's like a prison. And Durga is the superintendent. She gives all the necessities for our existence, but as soon as we become as asuras like the Mussolinis and such others for the exploitation of the material energy, the Durga Devi at once appears herself with her dreadful trident and begins to devastate the whole existence by such tribulations as war, famine, pestilence, or sometimes annihilation of total existence. I'm going to read this again, and I'm not sure if everyone knows what pestilence means. Pestilence means pandemics, epidemics. So let's read it now in light of, we're reading this now in September 2020. We've been in lockdown April, May, June, July, August. So we're on our 6th month of lockdown. Lockdown started around mid-March. Actually, lockdown was one of my favorite times because there were less people doing less sinful things. I could feel the atmosphere was more calm. She gives all the necessities for our existence, but as soon as we become an asura, like the Mussolinis and such others, for the exploitation of the material energy, the Durga Devi at once appears herself with her dreadful trident and begins to devastate the whole existence by such tribulations as war, famine, pestilence, or sometimes annihilation of a total existence. So if you had any doubt about the cause of the coronavirus, maybe there's some theories that it was created by in a lab as a weapon or whatever. But here's the real answer. I mean, let's say however it was created, they're just being instruments of Maya who's responding to our sinful reactions. Now, yesterday I heard a very heavy lecture. I almost don't feel like telling you, it was so heavy. But Prabhupada was explaining the consequence of meat eating. And he said that you're killing the animals, there'll be war. And he went on to say it could be a huge, huge slaughter of human beings. Huge annihilation because of that sinful action. Of course, you're thinking, well, there's so much meat eating, but no major destructions in the hundreds of millions or anything. Anyway, there's always tomorrow. So that's what Prabhupada said. So we're seeing the epidemic now, the pandemic, which we don't really know how it's going to end, and it keeps coming back. And we were told it's mutated into varieties of strains in India, which are more, they're not as lethal, but they're more, why can't my brain work? Contagious. They're more contagious than the other strains. So when's it going to end? And every time you turn around, you find some devotee has it. Now I just heard another disciple has it. I heard another guru has it, or another 2 gurus. It's this reaction is, the problem is when there's a reaction, everybody suffers. Even the people who don't deserve to suffer, just because it's a kind of a collective karma. Anyway, Durga Devi at once appears with her dreadful trident and begins to devastate the whole existence by such tribulations as war, famine, pestilence, or sometimes annihilation of a total existence. The methods of annihilation, as are invented by the human brain, such as the atomic bomb, etc., are also her creations. But the deluded asuras who are caused to act by the modes of material nature do think themselves as the originator or inventor of such weapons. In that way, a constant struggle is going on between the asuras and the prakriti, and the asuras are thus being punished in different ways, which the asuras cannot overcome by any method except by full surrender unto the Almighty God. And this man must have been a politician. And Prabhupada was explaining why things are bad. And what's so interesting, have you ever heard anywhere, I haven't, any politicians when they're discussing the causes and solutions to a problem, talking about this is a karmic consequence of this? Because they're just trying to investigate it on the basis of what they can see as the cause and effect relationship. What's causing the problem? What they can see. We know the causes are much deeper. They're karmic causes. So, you can get a vaccine, but if the karmic causes continue, there'll be another one. Or if it's not an epidemic, there'll be a war. If it's not a war, it'll be a hurricane. If it's not a hurricane, it'll be a tsunami. So we've seen all this, especially in the last 10 years. We're getting hit by tsunamis, hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, different varieties of COVID. So it's actually, this would sound strange to people who don't know, but it's actually the fault of the leaders. The leaders are held responsible. In Vedic culture, the leaders are held responsible for such things. So that's also interesting because they're allowing sinful activities to go on. Because they're allowing sinful activities to go on, there's a reaction, and then they're responsible. So the next letter is written in 1949, and we don't know who it is written to, but it's similar. The Mother Nature is, as she should naturally be, the most faithful mistress of Godhead. And she becomes angry with the behavior of the Asura and thus assumes the role of Daivamaya, generally known as Mohakali, Bodrakali Durga, and takes at once her grim trident and inflicts the weapon in the heart of the Asura, who is also her son. The Asura thus becomes subject to the threefold miseries, and this is done according to the plan of Godhead, as the mother has to chastise the disobedient son in order to make him all right. So this is, ultimately, it's meant for our rectification, as any punishment is. It's supposed to be. The process of chastisement is necessary for the benefit of both the Asura and the Deva sons in order to stop disorder in the great plan of God. As sons of the Asura, however, surrenders unto Godhead as the obedient son and servitor, the plan of Godhead, the Asura is turned into a Devata. The angry mode of Mother Nature at once subsides, and she appears to such godly sons as the most affectionate mother in the role of Yogamaya, commonly known as Lakshmi, Sita, and Radharani. So this is a beautiful thought to meditate on. Do you want to deal with Mahamaya or do you want to deal with Radharani? Because that's basically what's going on. So when we become Krishna conscious, then we're under the shelter of the internal potency of Radharani. When we turn our back on Krishna, then we're under the shelter of Radharani, but as she expands into her external feature, Mahamaya Bhadrakali Durga, and now we're under the shelter of the external energy. So we say Daivim Prakritim, Mahatmanas Tumam Parta, Daivim Prakritim Ashrita. The Mahatmas, they take shelter of the Daivim Prakriti. And this is in that section of the Gita where Krishna is saying nobody can cross over Maya. But if you take shelter of the Daivim Prakriti, you don't have to deal with that Mahamaya. So this is a beautiful example, isn't it? What do you want, Mahamaya or Yogamaya? You want shelter of Radharani, or you want her in her external feature, who will bash you and thrash you and smash you and dash you until you say, I give up, I surrender. Yeah, it's probably the only way we'll surrender. Why did you surrender, Prabhu? I had no choice. There was nothing else to do. Would you have surrendered if you had something else to do? Probably I wouldn't have if I had a way out of this mess. But I didn't, so I surrendered. So that's mercy. And Prabhupada has said that Maya is actually very happy when you escape from her clutches and become Krishna conscious. And at that point, she'll help you. As Prabhupada's saying here, in the form of Radha, Yoga Maya, the internal potency, she'll help you. When that's what you want and that's what you choose, that's what you get. So, if you call up Maya, she'll come over. If you call up Radha, she'll come over. In figuratively speaking, if you call Radha, see Radha, you have the shelter of Radha, Krishna's internal potency. And if you call Maya, Maya, let's dance, then Maya will come and give you the external energy. And the function of the external energy is to separate us from Krishna, to make us forget Krishna. So why would we want to dance with an energy that's causing us to forget Krishna? Doesn't make any sense. Especially if we're devotees, if we're chanting our rounds every day, we're doing all these things. Why would we want to turn around and go the other way? But when we're in Maya, we're going the other way. We've turned around. So turn towards Radha. Otherwise, you'll get her external feature. Just like follow the laws of the government. Otherwise, you go to prison. Something like that. Not something like that. It's exactly like that. That's why the material world is called a prison. Yes. Okay. So I have to leave in 3 minutes. And I know you're all going to cry because that's an hour before we normally end class, but it was not within my control to change the time of the meeting. Let's read one more. This is written in 1967. So now, when we read these letters from 67, we kind of get a glimpse into what Prabhupada was dealing with. These are brand new devotees. They don't know much. They're struggling. And this is what Prabhupada has to deal with. The devotees of the temple must keep themselves engaged. Otherwise, they cannot make progress in Krishna consciousness. The Maya is very strong. And as soon as there is opportunity, the Maya will come and attack. The Maya. Therefore, everyone should be very careful against the attack of Maya. And the only effective defense is to remain in Krishna consciousness always. So, this is a theme that has come up a lot in Prabhupada's instructions. Always be engaged in Krishna service. You hear this. Always chant, always think of Krishna. 24/7, hearing and chanting, service. Prabhupada has said this, 24 hours a day service. How's that possible? What does Prabhupada mean? When he says 24 hours a day, whatever he's relating it to in Krishna consciousness, he means not 1 second for Maya, 24 hours for Krishna. So of course, we eat, we sleep, that knocks off maybe 8 hours or so. So that leaves around 16. But we eat for Krishna, we sleep for Krishna, therefore 24 hours. So that's Prabhupada's point. You have this momentum, you keep it up, service, preaching, sadhana, classes, no room for Maya. And Prabhupada said, as soon as you stop that, then Maya comes. Sitting duck. And Narpita wants to give a donation. Just go to mahatmadas.com and hit donate. And there are various ways you can donate. Thank you, Narpita. Okay, so long ago, maybe 1970, there's a little trouble in ISKCON. So Prabhupada was trying to tighten up the ship, so to speak. So he gave us a schedule, which at that point we weren't going to Mangalarti, because we were staying out very late on Harinam. So he said, well, come back early go to Mangalartik, here's the schedule. And then he gave us the whole morning program schedule and service throughout the day schedule. And then he said, if you follow this schedule, there'll be no Maya. If you don't follow this schedule, then Maya will come. Maya will find a space. Oh, there's a little space. I can sit there. What's the space? Non-engagement in Krishna consciousness. Think of Maya. Think of Maya like someone who's looking for space in your life where those times you're not Krishna conscious. She goes, oh, he's about to do something not Krishna conscious. Here's my chance. There's a space I can get in. So that was Prabhupada's analogy. You have this schedule. You follow this schedule. There'll be no room for Maya. You have, all day, Krishna. Only Krishna. That's our disease. Only Krishna. So, I'm going to have to say goodbye today. We will see you tomorrow. We were going to have a class in Russian tomorrow at 8 o'clock, but that's been canceled because Chaitanya Chandra Charan is not well. So we'll have our regular class tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Hare Krishna to all of you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari. Now we got off early. You can chant more rounds. Hari.